Hi guys, Igor again with the next video talking about the best TODO app. Next chapter, I think 5th or 6th already. What we need to cover today. Last time we've created SQL TODO repository, we have tested it and so forth, but we are not using it in runtime. So we need to use it in runtime. To do that, we need to have we need to spin up a database, real Postgres database. Recently, we have used it only in tests. That is second requirement, and to do that, we should also create a package of our app. We should dockerize it because right now we were really starting it like that, so in the ID. So let's jump into it. Let's start with dockerizing our application. First thing that I prepared is I changed the POM to create executable jar for us. To do that, we are using Maven assembly plugin, and basically it allows us to create jar with dependencies. Normally, if you compile Java code with the Maven, with the default settings, you only have jar with your own code without dependencies. So let's actually run Maven clean install to show that. Integration tests are running. Let's wait for them to finish. And jar with dependencies was created as we stated here. So we have some files in target. Let's check them out. Actually, what we have besides these things, we have two jars. First is normal jar, and the second one is with jar with the dependency. Let's check out the first one. This is the regular jar. We have only our package when it comes to Java code. Only our package is there, so we don't have dependencies, and we are using them in our code, so you can't really execute this jar standalone. And we have manifest standard for jar file, but if we check out the executable jar, we also have our own code, but as you can see, you have all sorts of packages that we have stated in our POM as dependencies and more, and also in meta-inf in the manifest we have main class, which is the entry point to our application actually, which we stated here. Here we have a main class. So right now, if we will go to target to that jar and run java minus jar the best to app jar with dependencies, we have our application running actually. Let's check that out. Okay, some to-dos like that. So it's working from the executable jar. Okay, so right now we'll dockerize it. So let's create a docker file like that, and we'll assume that we have a compiled jar here, so we only need Java. So let's use Eclipse Temurin, I believe, jar. Let's actually check if it's there. So docker build -t, which is tag the best TODO app. Okay, so maybe that. Okay, it was fast because I have it cached in my local Docker registry. It can take a while for you. Okay, so here we need to copy the jar from our target folder. Let's copy the name and let's maybe call it TODO App jar, and then entry point, which takes program. The first this is the entry point to Docker image. The first argument is usually program, and then you have arguments of that program. So Java -jar for us, and that TODO App jar. Okay, and we should be able to run it like that. Let's name our container and let's run it. Okay, but it will not be available because we haven't exposed the port. So we can do something like -p, and we can say if we want to expose that port. Okay, we need to remove the previous container. Now it should work. It works. Yeah, let's maybe put all of that into script. So let's create something like build and run app bash, and let's say that we will be using bin bash interpreter. Let's actually compile our code in the script. Let's remove the previous container if it existed. Then we will build it again, and then let's say that we will run it, but not with this p flag, but actually with the host network mode, because it will be easier for us to access the database later on. You can also create your own Docker network, but for the sake of an example, it will be more it will be easier to use in our case. Okay, let's check out if our script works. We are compiling the code, and then after compilation, yeah, we have this works. Okay, so we have our application in the Docker. What do we need right now, guys? We need to have database Docker Alpha. To make it faster, I have prepared the image for that. So we have a Docker file inheriting from postgres 14, the same as we have actually in our tests. Right. Okay. Then we are specifying default user and password for root user. That is required. We have our schema, Then we have a script to initialize database. We create a database for our application. We create a user with password. We change this password, and you should change it when deploying somewhere. It shouldn't be hard-coded in the repository, obviously. Then we are granting connect privilege to this database, to TODO App database, to TODO App user, and then we are granting him basically all the privileges on that database. So we'll be using it as non-root user. This is very important. Okay, and we have similar script to build and run it. Build and run DB. Basically, we are removing the previous container, we are building it, and we are exposing port. By default, Postgres is running on this port 5432, but I changed it to from the container perspective to 5555 because I have it used. And then we are using volume here. So this is the path where the data files are stored for Postgres, and basically we are mapping it to home directory under this name to make it persistent, because in other case it will be all removed once we are removing the container, and we don't want to do that. We want to have persistent database, and yeah, then we have a name, and that's pretty much it. So let's go there to TP folder and let's try to run it. Okay, it is quite fast for me. Again, for you it can be slower because I have this base container image cached, and you may need it the first run. You probably will have it downloaded through network. It can take some time. Okay, but we need to initialize it. This part I haven't automated, so let's go to the terminal. If we type docker ps, we have the our database running. So let's say docker exec interactive terminal and a bash. Here we are. PSQL. We'll go to the database and let's run it. Actually, okay, we have created database, we have created role, and we have granted it privileges. Let's check that we have this user. TODO App. It will not require a password from us because we are running it locally. We will see later if it works for the application, because then it will be required. Okay, and we don't have any relations. Yeah, because as this user, we are right now TODO App user, we should create this table so that we will own it. So right now, as you can see, we have TODO App table, and we are the owner of it, right? Okay, it's not shown here, but here, as you can see, we have TODO table. TODO App is the owner, so we have the databases prepared. So let's actually use it in a runtime. What do we need for that, guys? It actually will not be that simple, because if we were to do that, SQL to do repository, we need to have DSL context, and to have DSL context, let's actually show that how we would do that. basically need to create DSL context, which allows us to talk with the database, we need to either connection or data source. And we will actually use data source because, as you may remember, we have the Hikari dependency, which is connection pool for the database. You will use it like that. You will create a config, Hikari config, and then you will say that you have new Hikari data source. Hikari data source implements data source, and you are giving it a config, and here we are saying that we have SQL dialect postgres, but it will not work, obviously. Why? Let's see. Yeah, we need to specify data source class name, or JDBC URL. So here we need to say .3. So password, username, and JDBC URL. Password is a sensitive data actually, so we need to give it. To our app from the externally. We shouldn't hardcode that. So I would create something like the best TODO App config class. And actually, let's maybe think what we should externalize to deploy our application. I would say that port shouldn't be hard-coded. We have right here. So let's say server or HTTP port. This is one thing that we want to externalize. Then let's say DB user and DB password and the DB URL. Okay, and let's change the best TODO app to actually have the best TODO app config as a field, like that. So we will say the best TODO app config. We have it here, and here we can use it in two places actually. We have done it like that. So let's maybe change that. And we will use it. We take it from our config. So here we have HTTP port. Here we can say username, like that. No, not that. Okay, let's maybe rename it. So Hikari config and Hikari config set username. We have our config DB user, Hikari config set password, and JDBC URL. So let's take it from our config. Okay, and it is all nice, but we have a problem, guys, with our tests, for example, and also with our main method. So let's fix that. Let's maybe comment out our app and let's fix tests. Actually, our tests, the best TODO app integration test, we're using the best TODO app with database memory, and right now we can't do that, guys. We can't do that because to create a config like that, we need to have db user, db password, and db URL. So what we can do, we have this code to spin up local database. Here we shouldn't duplicate that, so I would say that we should create a base class for that, like integration tests. Let's make it an abstract class, and let's see what we need here. I would say doing that. We need that so that database is started at the beginning of our tests. So let's copy everything that we need. We probably need also that. Okay, and what's wrong? Yeah, here let's name it by string for now. Okay, should work. Yeah, maybe let's change that to protected, so our child classes or children classes have access to that. Same with here, that. And let's also maybe say that we're allowed to override after each, like that, after each method. And it will not be implemented here in the base class. Okay. And before using it here, let's maybe ignore this and let's check if it works here. So let's say that we extend integration test class. Okay. Here we should remove, because it is in the base class. Okay, and basically almost. Okay. We need before each, I believe. Yeah. Okay, and it should work. Okay, it works. So let's use it here, guys. So let's also extend integration test. We can't use tear down. We should do the after each method, and here we should say stop, because it will be called by our superclass. Actually, here we have access to the postgres container, and we can get user, we can get db password, we can also get jdbc URL. Like that. Let's see if our tests work. Okay, no. Why? Connection exception. What happened? think we didn't start it. Yeah. Okay, they work, guys. So right now we need to use it here, right? So config new the best app to do config. Okay, and I propose to should take it from environment variables so that we don't need to recompile code if we want to just change the HTTP port or use different database. So I would say that we should create the factory method here, like from env variables. Let's return null for that, and we will use it like that. Like that. And let's implement it. We need 4 environment variables. So let's say env variable or throw with key, and we will do optional of nullable system get env key or else throw, and we will throw exception like env variable of key is required but was null. Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. And with the first case, we also want to have int. So that's actually let's see. Yeah, I would say that we should do something like that. So HTTP port integer parse, and we have env variable or throw. Actually, it can be private. Let's say HTTP port as a key, and in case of failure we will say that invalid HTTP port integer is required, and let's throw whole exception like that. And with other variables we have db user, we have db password, and db password, and we have db URL, like that. And let's return the whole object like that. Let's see that if should not work, right? Okay, we need to add environment variables. Actually, I have them prepared here. So we have db password, we have db URL, which is that JDBC, and then PostgreSQL. They are both like HTTP, and then we have localhost, port number, which is 50, 50, 50, 50. Then we have the name of the database, which is TODO App. We have username, and we have this password, and let's add HTTP port. And let's have the previous value. Okay. DB user. What we have done here. Okay. DB user can be. Okay, and we are connected, but we want to have it in Docker, right? So let's modify our script, guys. Actually, yeah, let's start with that. We need to say here that we are giving some environment variables, right? So like HTTP port, DB user, and DB password, which we will take from env variable given to the script, and the DB URL, which was the JDBC postgres localhost 5050 port and TODO App, right? Okay, we have postgres here, if I remember correctly. Yes, so let's do this in separate terminal, so bash, and let's see what will happen. Our beautiful integration tests, checking if everything works. Okay, jar is getting created, and something went wrong, guys. What is this? Yeah, we haven't given, I believe, what happened? Yeah, we have something strange with the environment variables, so let's check them out, guys. I know, the DB password is empty. Let's actually require the DB password, but how it was to check if environment variable is empty. Okay, guys, I have checked it because I did. Who remember the bash syntax, right? And this is how. And right now, if we run it, yeah, DB password is required, but it's not defined. Let's improve it. So right now, let's export it from the outside. It was to do password, and let's check if it works or not. Okay, something started. Let's check to-dos. Don't have to-dos. So let's create a few using just fetch. So we can say that localhost, and here we configure our request. So method is post body JSON stringify, and what do we need for creating to do, guys? We need only one field, I believe. Post. Yeah, we only need name. So let's say first to do. Let's see network. What will happen? Not found. Okay. Yeah. Because slash to do's. Okay, we have 201. Let's see. Second to do. Okay, and actually, let's check here. We have two to-dos. We can filter them. Here, let's say. Okay. Something doesn't work. Or we have a bug, guys. Because we had this filter implemented, right? Where we have get. Ha! Nice. We don't have that. Let's say to do test it. Nice integration, manual tests. So main filter, HTTP functions, query. We don't have that. Oh, guys. Actually, it is similar to that. We had a path param function. Let's create the query param. And query params, actually it's the same. Query param class, yeah. Let's throw different exception like that. Yeah, and we also need to do this. Make it optional. Where it was. Let's check this out. Yeah, what get is doing. Not now. Get or default. For us, it is null, right? Yeah, maybe let's do that. Let's check with that. And what do we have? We have name filter. String null. Context. And then we have description. Filter. Yeah, and let's check that out. Here, test filters. Yeah, I'm not sure what will happen with the default value as null. to be honest with that. It may throw an exception, but we have some magical Kotlin here. Okay, and one more thing, guys. We have restarted our application. We have to-dos, right? And in fact, if we go to the console, we have that. Let's stop the database. What should happen? Okay, we should have some problems with connections, or we'll have an exception. Let's see. Yeah, we haven't specified the timeout. It will time out probably after, I don't know, a few seconds. Oh, definitely too long. But let's see after what time we get an exception. Yeah, here we have it. Unknown error, connection refused. Let's see if we will recover from that. So let's start the database again. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it recovered, and as you can see, the to-dos are persistent because we are using Docker volumes. Okay, let's see that our filter works. It works, I guess. Second, yeah, let's create to-do with the description. Like that. Some description. What? Yeah. Okay, and to-dos without filters. We have it, and with to-dos, I mean description, filter, tests. Yeah, we have it, guys. So everything works. I think we have the best to-do app, DB configuration from external configuration. Everything besides front end is ready to be deployed. So I think in the next video we will create some simple front end, and then the next one we will deploy it to the internet. So stay tuned, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one. See ya.